It's not often that I say that a prospect is a have to have him, but this one's different.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. I want to thank you for making us your first listen or watch here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Special shout out to all you everydayers out there and all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community. Welcome into all of you. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and redeem code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, going to be a pretty packed show today. Lots of great stuff, so we got to get right into it. We're talking Kendre Harrison's top 6. Malachi Moreno is scheduling some visits. UNC's NIL efforts are all coming under one roof now for all sports. Got some ACC kickoff updates for football and a couple more players getting drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. Just finished off watching the Home Run Derby, by the way. I prefer the Derby to the All-Star game itself. I don't know about you, but man, that was fun. Teoscar Hernandez took it home for the Dodgers. It is Tuesday. No Trivia Tuesday, though, just because we got so much to get through, and I want to make sure that we give everything its appropriate time. So let's start with two different recruiting things. One is basketball specific, and one is Julius Peppers' situation, football and basketball together, and that is North Carolina's own Kendre Harrison. We've talked about him before here on the show. He's class of 2026, so we're getting ahead by a couple classes here. He wouldn't be a freshman until 2 years from now, but we are talking about him because not only is he the number 1 tight end in the nation for this class, number 6 overall, he's also the number 6 power forward in this class, number 45th nationally consensus. Yeah, that's insane. So the reason what's germane to today talking about him is because on Monday, Dre Harrison released a top 6. And it's a little interesting, but you got to remember this mix of both basketball and football coming at it. So it is North Carolina, but nobody else really just right there in that area. But also Tennessee, Penn State, Oregon, Florida State, and Miami. So a little bit of all over the place, right? You got the far southeast part of America. You've got Oregon in the Pacific Northwest. You've got Penn State, not New England, but up there. I guess the only thing that's missing is like the Southwest, right? Where are you at, Arizona? Come on, make this list. But it really is interesting because you look at this kind of list for a top flight basketball recruit and you think, I mean, it's North Carolina and some strong teams. Take Penn State out, but then you think about it from the football aspect and it's like, oh, you got Tennessee, you got Penn State and Oregon and the two really strong ACC Florida schools. It's like, all right, this starts to make a lot more sense now. And it makes a recruitment of this nature all the more difficult to wrap your brain around. Like what, because of Dre's higher profile from a football standpoint, it stands to reason that you expect that to be, right, like the bigger factor in this decision for him. But you don't know what's in Dre's head. Like maybe he cares more about basketball. It's like, yeah, I love it. And I love that I'm so highly ranked in football. But I'm gonna focus in on where I want to play for basketball. So you got to keep up with all of that. It's going to be a while because Dre has said he doesn't expect to commit anytime soon. Sounds like not anytime in calendar year 2024. Again, he's a 2026 recruit, so he's got plenty of time to do it. Here's the thing for me with Dre Harrison. This is one of those recruitments, I guess I would say more importantly, that you cannot screw up. This guy has been on campus multiple times. He's, as I said earlier, from North Carolina, seems to just love it and be all in. And I know he's got these other schools, but man, Mac Brown and Hubert Davis have to get together and just knock this one out of the park. There can be no doubt, because it's one of those things where it's like, not only does it seem like if you just play all your cards the way you need to play your cards, you're going to land him, but also if you don't land him, that is going to be a referendum on both Carolina football and basketball, and you just can't let that happen. Keep this dude home. And I know that the football pedigree at North Carolina isn't as strong as the basketball pedigree, but the tight end room for the Tar Heels has been great, right? I mean, you just think about all these guys. Bryson Nesbitt's primed to have a really big year. Really looking forward to that. John Copenhaver's back. I mean, so there's no reason to say, oh, we're North Carolina football. We can't. No, tight end room is awesome. And obviously, like, you can sell to him the Julius Peppers of it all, who's literally about to go into the Hall of Fame, right? Just got his jacket. I'm sure you saw the video. It's like, homie, you could be the next Julius Peppers. Come and do that in Chapel Hill. It's going to be hard for him to say no to that. Again, timeline pending. We'll see when more comes through. But in a more basketball-specific recruitment, Malachi Moreno is a prospect we've talked about. He's from Georgetown, Kentucky, which is like 20 minutes from Rep Arena. So we're going to have a hard time getting him out of there. But Moreno's a 7-footer, one of Carolina's kind of two main targets at the center position. My second favorite of the two, but good grief, I would love to have him. And so we'll keep our eyes out on that. The reason he's germane to today's conversation is that news has come out in the last couple of days that he has set 5 official visits. And as a reminder, you can have as many as you want in this day and age. But for Moreno, he set 5 of them that are all going to be this fall, kind of boom, 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 boom weekend. September 7th, visiting Ohio State. September 14th, coming to North Carolina. The football team is playing NC Central that weekend. And interestingly, his AAU teammate from Indiana, Braylon Mullins, is going to be on that same visit. Just would be very interesting to be able to land both of those 2025 guys. Now, of course, the next weekend, they're going to Indiana, September 20th, where they're both going to be on that same visit. And I believe I read a third of their AAU teammates is going on that one with them. So there's that. And then wraps this thing up October 5th at Arkansas, October 12th at Kentucky. And if you go and read Moreno's comments about each school, again, you heard me say he grew up 20 minutes basically from Rep Arena. And so he's been following John Calipari and the Wildcats. And his comments about Arkansas are, hey, look, I know Coach Cal's at a new school now, but he continues to pursue me really, really hard. Just the way he talks about Coach Cal and his reverence for him. And then the same thing with Coach Pope, talking about being a big man coach and being able to, know what he's looking for and to keep him close to home. I'm going off of nothing other than the tea leaves that we often read this with. And for me, I would not be shocked if it ended up being either Arkansas or Kentucky. Again, that's no insider information. That's just me trying to read the things we read when we look at these recruitments. Now, we talked about Sean May and, being a big and how Carolina program is and all these things. And so, who knows what's going to happen. But again, if I had to call it today, I'm going to put in a thought for either Kentucky or Arkansas. So there we go. All right. From the recruiting trail, we need to turn our attention next to Carolina's NIL efforts, which, isn't a complete departure from the recruiting trail where you need to know what those NIL opportunities are. Well, North Carolina is bringing all its NIL collective opportunities under one umbrella. We'll talk about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about eBay Motors, passion, drive, and patience, what the formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, from exhaust kits to LED headlights and more, whether you're into speed or power or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part's guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Why? Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. We talked about all those other schools that both Kendre Harrison and Malachi Moreno are looking at. We've got some great shows on the Locked On Network there. It'd be interesting to hear what they're talking about. So if you want to hear more about what Tennessee thinks, go check out Locked On Vols with Eric Kane. He's a fellow Braves fan. Love him. Or if you want to know more about Malachi Moreno's visits, go check out Lance Daw on Locked On Kentucky. He does a great job over there as well. All right. Carolina's NIL. If you've been tracking with this, you know that a couple of years ago, the football team started Heels for Life. That was founded back in February of 2022. And then this past basketball season, Carolina started the Secondary Break Club that was directed NIL efforts specifically for the men's basketball team under the direction of TJ Beisner, who came over from Kentucky. We'll keep talking about them some today. So the ever-evolving NIL landscape across the nation is changing also at North Carolina. And in a way, that to me makes a lot of sense. I hate it for these established collectives that are going away. You know, we've had TJ on our show. I stay in pretty regular communication with him. And so at a personal level, I really hate this for him. But I do see where this makes a lot of sense for universities to try. It's just all over the place. And if you can do something to consolidate everything and kind of be a one-stop shop, I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's what North Carolina is doing under a new NIL collective called Old Well Management. And a lot of this reporting came from an article that our friend Michael Coe wrote, so you can see that. And then I'll give you some information from one of my sources coming up here in just a little bit as well. So again, this umbrella entity is called Old Well Management. I think it is a brilliant move, going to encompass Heels for Life, Secondary Break Club, but those terms now go away. The new collective is going to start on August 1st, so just about 2.5 weeks away or so, about 2 weeks, honestly, now at this point. In fact, Heels for Life sent out a letter to members last week. Michael Coe reported about this, saying that, quote, it will be removing all accounts, subscriptions, and data from its platforms on July 15th. That was yesterday, Monday. Also from the email that said, quote, thank you for your gracious involvement with Heels for Life. It has been an honor to work on behalf of this program, end quote. So I think it's been pretty confusing for a lot of fans, right? Do I give to the Rams Club? Do I give to Heels for Life? Do I give to Secondary Break Club? Is giving money to the Secondary Break Club or Heels for Life taking away from the Rams Club and hurting it, or do they work together? Like, all of that is a little bit confusing if we're being honest, right? Like, I know I experienced some of that at first as well and had to ask a bunch of clarifying questions from folks to learn more about that. And so I love that this is coming together under this one umbrella and will hopefully bring some clarity. Let me go back to the email that was sent out to the Heels for Life folks. It says, quote, Old Well Management will work in close partnership with the athletic department, our coaching staffs and players, local and national brands. Hey, what's up? Let's get in on that. And the Rams Club to raise money and administer benefits for its generous donors, end quote. So I really do think, while I hate to see those two entities go away, I think this is going to be a good thing for the fan base, an easier thing for all the sports teams involved. And you see other universities doing this as well. Kind of close to home, NC State recently did a similar move. Theirs is called One Pack. And, you know, that just seems to be a direction that a lot of people are going to go. And then it's when you think about, you know, staying under NCAA regulations and making sure that everything's kind of above board the way Coach Brown and Coach Davis would want it to be. And I know there's not much regulation nationally, and I get that, but I think it helps a lot. Now, a couple other thoughts about this. Again, it's called Old Well Management. Obviously, that name is very well known and understood immediately to Carolina folks. I'm curious to see if that insider name ends up being a good thing that attracts a lot of just Carolina people, or if it is a detraction because of at the national scale. I don't know that a lot of people know the symbolism of the Old Well. Probably locally, the other North Carolina teams, maybe even some of the other ACC schools. But I just wonder how that does from a marketing and branding standpoint. But all of this stuff with the old entities is going away. I was looking up Secondary Break Club on Twitter. That's gone. TJ Beisner has removed his Twitter account. His Instagram is still up, but some of the Heels for Life social media is still up, but I think that'll probably go away as well. And we're going to start seeing new branded media for Old Well management. And then from my sources, just a little more on Old Well management, Kevin Rice, who runs the North Carolina Hall of Fame, is going to be the one running Old Well management. So that's good to know. And with Secondary Break Club specifically, we've talked kind of more about Heels for Life. Secondary Break Club, from my source, has essentially been done operating since March or slightly thereafter. So they really didn't have much time. I mean, you remember they started just like back in, what was that? October, early November, right? And so just 3, 4, 5 months for Secondary Break Club, and now it's no longer a thing. So there's that. And in terms of like thinking about the people that have been leading this, TJ Beisner, for example, has an offer to work with Old Well management. And my source tells me he's currently deciding if he will accept that opportunity or not. So we'll wait to see. I think that would make a lot of sense because he's been working hand in hand with the basketball team doing Secondary Break Club. And so we'll see what TJ decides on that. All right, ACC kickoff updates as we kind of stick to football. SEC Media Days is going on right now. ACC's is coming up in about 10 days. And then some more MLB Draft updates for you as well. 2 more Tar Heels off the board on Monday. We'll get to that in just a second. ACC Kickoff is coming up on July 25th for the Tar Heels. That's the ACC's version of ACC Media Days. The football account tweeted out a picture of it on Monday. And while just the information itself is cool, I'm doing a lot of reading between the lines here. There were 5 Tar Heels pictured on the graphic that will be repping the Tar Heels. 3 of whom you could probably guess right off the top of your head right now. Go ahead, pause the podcast on YouTube or audio and just guess. Who do you think are the obvious choices for this year? All right, now I'll say it because you've had time to pause and do it. Omarion Hampton, duh. Kaimon Rucker, duh. Powell Echols, duh. With Cedric Gray gone, like that is, he and Kaimon are the heart and soul of the defense. Well, I named who should be the heart and soul of the offense this year, Omarion Hampton, but I said there are 5 total players, and I've only named 3. You can probably guess where I'm going with this. Who are the other 2? It's Connor Harrell and it's Max Johnson. A clear and obvious indication that there is no decision, publicly at least, upon who is going to be QB1 for the Tar Heels. Whether I still wonder, at what point did Mac Brown actually know that he was going to name Drake over Jacoby Criswell? Because we all didn't find out until game week 2 years ago. And, I know he's going to want to get through fall camp and see all this, but both Connor Harrell and Max Johnson are going to ACC Kickoff. Interesting. It either indicates, A, we've not made a decision, and so we want to have both of these guys here because one of them is going to be our main quarterback, or B, we're going to go with a 2-headed quarterback approach, which I hope is not the case. I would guess it's probably point A, the former, that it's like, hey, we haven't decided yet, but you got to bring your quarterback to ACC Kickoff, and so that makes a ton of sense. Now, another thing, a lot of people wondered when Jacoby Criswell decided to transfer back, oh, is he going to be in the mix here to be a starter? I think this is very telling that the answer to that is no, that he will be further down the depth chart. Otherwise, Jacoby would be in the mix and be there as well. Also with football, Jordan Brand dropped. Did you see these pictures? Some new player exclusive Jordan 3 cleats. My word, they're gorgeous. go check them out. It's on the football Twitter page or Instagram. You can see either of those, but man, really great stuff. So anyway, look for ACC Kickoff coming up just shy of 10 days from now. Omarion Hampton, Kaimon Rucker, Powell, Echols, and both quarterbacks who were in the mix, both Kendre Harrison and Max Johnson. One other thing I guess I'll say about that, by doing this, you know they're going to get asked about it. And I'm sure Jeremy Sharp, who's the football SID, is preparing them for this, how to talk about it well and fairly and healthily, not to show division, to, encourage one another, all that kind of stuff. But really, the football program is inviting those questions by sending both of these dudes. But I also get it. You can't send one and not the other if you haven't already decided, because that would be clear and obvious as well. So, there's that. All right, let's switch from football to baseball. MLB Draft. Remember on Sunday in round 1, Vance Honeycutt was off the board, and then rounds 3 through 10 were yesterday, Monday. Casey Cook, I told you that we expected him to go on Monday somewhere in rounds 3 through 10. Well, he went in the 3rd round. So that very next round that started on Monday, 103rd overall. And let me remind you about Casey Cook. While not having the ceiling or the firepower of Vance Honeycutt, Casey Cook is regarded as a more complete hitter than Vance, a more professional hitter at this point. A lot of that probably has to do with that strikeout rate that we've talked about with Vance, but just other things with his hitting capability. And again, I don't think Casey necessarily has the ceiling. He's a very good outfielder. He's not next level Gold Glove kind of capability like Vance is, but does a very nice job going to the reigning world champion Rangers. So that's cool for Casey. Love to see it. And one other Tar Heel drafted on Monday, that was Anthony D'Onofrio to the Mariners in the 10th round. So Cook went in the first round of the day, D'Onofrio in the last round of the day, 303rd overall. Let's remember, in baseball, there are 20 rounds of this thing. And man, what a cool story for D'Onofrio. It's kind of like Dalton Connect in basketball, right? Started at SUNY Cortland, which is State University of New York, Cortland, transferred to Stony Brook, told he can't walk on there, ends up at Quinnipiac where he has his big breakout. And then this year comes to North Carolina, and now he's drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. Dude, like, what a neat ascension for Anthony D'Onofrio. Really, really cool. So what I love about this is it means that in the first 2 days of the MLB draft, in the first 10 rounds of the MLB draft, Carolina's entire starting outfield has been drafted. Remember, Cook started in left, Vance in center, and D'Onofrio in right. That's so cool. Now, obviously, the downside of that is now you got to replace all those guys who were critical to Carolina's run to the World Series this year. But Scott Forbes, man, is doing a great job, and you expect that they'll be able to do that. But great stuff for the Tar Heels there. Also of note, one of Carolina's upcoming commits for this season went in the 3rd round. That's Cobb Hightower, who plays at East Rowan. He was an all-state shortstop this past year, won the state championship. I believe it was 3A. He went 88th overall. Now, keep in mind with the baseball draft, there's always a chance that he doesn't sign and that he ends up still coming to North Carolina. We'll see what happens. It just depends on how the negotiations go, what he wants to do, what's important to him, all of that. So we'll keep our eyes on it. Now, rounds 11 through 20 are today, Tuesday. Dalton Pence has not gone off the board yet, and who obviously was just one of the best relievers in the entire nation this past year. And then Cameron Seagraves, whose name you probably don't know, but is another UNC commit, was the Gatorade National Baseball Player of the Year this year in North Carolina. Did I say Gatorade National Player? Gatorade North Carolina Baseball Player of the Year this year. So kind of the hope is don't get drafted, because we'd love you to come to Carolina. He's a great pitcher and would love to have him. So there's all the updates for you. One more day of the Major League Baseball draft. If any other Tar Heels go off the board, we'll catch you up to that as well. All right, gang, it's been great to be together today. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Coach Pat Kilby will be with me. We're talking Drake Powell. That's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to have that conversation. If you're not subscribed to us on video and audio, man, please go ahead and do so. It's very easy on both platforms. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord family, we'd love to have you there as well. come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. You will not be disappointed. Great conversations happening literally every day. Yes, even through the offseason. It's hard to keep up because there's so many messages going. You love to see it. We'd love to have you. All right. I paused there because I had a listener reach out and say, I say you love to see it a lot. And so I'm working to curtail it. You hate when you have those things that you say all the time. You don't realize they say, and I just caught myself on that one. So I'm working on it. There we go. Guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.